What is up, YouTube? My name is Justin, this is the Den of Nerds, and this is our review of Mass Effect Andromeda. The year is 2819. After a 600-year journey, your character awakens in the Andromeda galaxy, hoping to start a new life for themselves with their family. But of course, things don't work out that way. Other ships that were slated to arrive with you in the galaxy are missing. There's a hostile alien race that's attacking colonists, and there's almost no inhabitable planets to sustain the few of you that did arrive. Through some unfortunate circumstances, your character, Scott or Sarah Ryder, is given the role of Pathfinder, an elite soldier, scientist, and explorer tasked with finding a new home for everyone in this strange galaxy. Sprinkle in some unexplained galactic phenomena that destroy ships, as well as ancient unknown alien civilizations and strange technologies, and you have a solid start and tons of potential for Mass Effect Andromeda's story. Unfortunately, it takes a little while for the story to actually blossom. The first third of the game feels like a bit of a slog, as you build up to the issues you'd really want to tackle, and can be hard to get through. But the story does eventually hit its stride around the second act, and ended up blossoming into an experience that made me excited to see more, complete with all the interesting antagonists, crazy plot twists, excellent choices, and general dumb luck that ends up making Mass Effect such a charming series. And for those of you burned by Mass Effect 3, I can safely say, have no fear. The ending was incredibly satisfying, and did make me feel like my choices throughout the game mattered. It really made me want a sequel, which I never would have believed I would have wanted at the start of the game. Andromeda's overarching narrative does sometimes feel as though it stands alone throughout many portions of the game. Plenty of Andromeda's numerous side quests try to tackle some interesting issues, but the quests usually ended before they really went far enough into delving into them, leaving me feeling a little cheated after all of them. Normally, such an issue would be alleviated by a strong supporting cast, crew members that would make the player feel engaged in their missions and make them question what they're doing. Unfortunately, most of the supporting cast on your crew's ship, the Tempest, aren't all that interesting. There are a few standouts among the cast, your new Angaran squadmate Jaal, and the incredibly old Krogan Drac, being two of the squadmates I felt had the strongest writing, with an honorable mention to quirky Asari explorer PB, even though she did get a little annoying at times. But overall, the cast of the Tempest just didn't have me as attached to them as I was to Shepard's entire crew at the end of the first Mass Effect, driving me to the point where I was pretty much only taking those three previous squad mates I mentioned onto any mission. In a game so focused on building relationships between your crew and your character, it was a pretty big letdown. Mass Effect Andromeda does bring out one of my favorite systems from Dragon Age 2 though, where your character's dialogue is influenced by the responses you pick. So having a Ryder who ended up having a sarcastic Han Solo vibe to him at least made me pleased that I was always able to bring myself along on my mission. For a game so focused on exploration and its narrative, Andromeda really did not make me eager to explore its game world at all. There were only 5 major planets to explore on, not counting the 2 hub worlds. Most of the quests that populate these planets were supposed to give me reasons to explore, but they ended up becoming incredibly predictable by the time I reached halfway through the game. Standing something or fighting a big enemy in one of the many bases dotted around the map were big features of the quests, with some interesting tidbits of lore sprinkled throughout. And while there are some exceptions, some side quests that do have an excellent narrative that were fun to complete, I mostly ended up completing them to fill a planet's viability meter to 100%, after which I was gone, rarely coming back unless a main story quest or squadmate mission brought me there, and regardless of whether or not I had finished all of the side quests available. Other than these few planets offered to the player, most of Andromeda's galaxy is just planets on a map. A galaxy map with a really annoying animation that you are forced to watch every single time you travel to another planet. I didn't find exploring the galaxy map in order to find all of the planets enjoyable at all, and most of them only ended up giving me either some slight XP or a resource. It didn't really make me feel like exploring Andromeda's magnificent galaxy was really all that worthwhile. It's a good thing that many of the quests in the game focused on combat, because that is where Andromeda truly excels. Gone is the traditional single class-based system of previous Mass Effect titles, with your character able to switch between classes and swap out abilities on the fly. This allows Ryder to feel very versatile, and lets you alter your kit to suit the specific needs of your current fight. Powers have two branching trees of abilities at levels 4, 5, and 6, allowing you to truly make your abilities your own. And this branching path applies to your squad mates as well, even allowing you to craft your squad mates kit to suit your needs. This combat system makes me feel like the game's class-based multiplayer system should be able to stand on its own as well. Players are given a suite of different alien races and humans to unlock and use in the game's multiplayer section, where you and up to 3 others will face off against waves of enemies from the main game. Your reward comes in the form of credits, which you can use to unlock more characters and weapons to help you in your fight. Of course, this is where microtransactions come in, allowing players to get additional boxes containing these items via the game's in-game cash shop. The inclusion of this feature isn't a surprise, given that the last game had it as well, but I'd much rather gain loot boxes quicker and have the option to pay for them off the table completely. But I did say the multiplayer should be able to stand on its own. And unfortunately, I wasn't able to get much time with Mass Effect's multiplayer. The lack of dedicated servers meant that a majority of my matches were incredibly lag-filled, and there were plenty of times where the connection dropped altogether. But if you have 4 friends, and at least one of those friends has an excellent internet connection to host your games, there's definitely hours of fun to be had in Mass Effect's multiplayer, and I really would like to play more of it. Andromeda's biggest flaws come in 2 forms: the game's animation and models, and the game's frequent glitches. I won't go into the game's animation, because pretty much everyone on the internet has already had their say about it, but it's not up to snuff, and neither are the character models, with human character models looking the absolute worst. I'm unsure if this is just because I have no point of reference for the aliens, but the character models seem plastic, almost android-like. Characters talking without really moving at all, in anywhere other than their lips, that is. I really hope BioWare does come through on their promise to deliver on fixing these animation and model issues. There is no reason that Dragon Age Inquisition should look better than this game. Not one. The glitches are the biggest issue with Andromeda. I logged 12 total crashes to desktop during single player within the 63 hours I put into the game. I could not replicate this. It was completely at random. There were also 6 additional crashes I encountered in multiplayer. Not drop connection, just crashes to the desktop. On top of that, there were several instances in single player where I was just kicked back to the title screen without explanation, having to reload my last save. There were also many issues with cutscenes and characters in the world as well. I frequently saw duplicate character models in cutscenes, characters walking through floors and walls, and there were even a few instances where I got stuck in the middle of dialogue and had to reload a save file. There were instances of dialogue not playing, dialogue cutting out, myself getting stuck on objects in the environment. You think of a glitch, and I likely experienced it. Luckily, crashes weren't a huge issue thanks to the game's generous autosave system, but that still doesn't excuse them in a game that is meant to be marketed as a complete and finished product. And here is our verdict. Mass Effect Andromeda is a game that really struggles to get the player invested in its larger narrative, but once it manages to grab you, it doesn't let go. Missteps through the animation, frequent glitches, and a weak supporting cast are shored up by incredibly strong gameplay and a solid payoff for the time that you have invested into the game. If you're looking for a story that will rival The Legend of Commander Shepard, you won't find it here. But you will find a sci-fi game that ultimately ends up being a pretty satisfactory, if incredibly flawed experience. And I really hope that the Andromeda team ends up following through on its promise to fix models, animation issues, and glitches in the game through future patches. Because if they don't, new fans to the Mass Effect series, upon completing Andromeda, will really wonder what all of the fuss was about. Because Mass Effect Andromeda is a game with heart and tries, despite the fact that it ends up suffering from frequent glitches and tons of other issues, the Den will allow Mass Effect Andromeda to just skate by with a score of 6 out of 10, above average. That is our review of Mass Effect Andromeda. We hope you all enjoyed it, If you would like to see more reviews or anything of that nature, please like the video, go ahead and subscribe, and follow us on the social medias as well. Thank you for your continued support, and I hope you're having an awesome and nerdy day.